the development process of a new product or service, I think you've got a great chance of seeing this pop up in June this year, okay? This pops up on most Leaving Cert papers, and we haven't seen it now for a while. So make sure you're rootless. We're moving on now to the last thing in this chapter, but I need you to make sure you hammer into this really, really well. So what we see here is that, like, if a business, like let's say Google or Microsoft or Apple, let's say, if they're developing a new product, they don't just automatically wake up tomorrow and there they've got their new iPhone. They go through this development process, right? And there's 7 stages that they want you to know for your Leaving Cert. Now, I've a sentence that helps me remember the order of the stages. It goes like, I gave Peter some CDs for Sarah. Please don't tell my pal Liam. And what you really do, what you're doing there is when you see them there, you match the letter, you match them up there with that. So like we have it here, it's like, I gave Peter some CDs for Sarah. So I gave is idea generation, Peter some product screening, CDs, concept development for Sarah, feasibility study, please don't, prototype development, tell my, test marketing, pal Liam, product launch. All right. So that's what you have there. I've kind of marked them in there, but you won't go like you won't go anywhere in this question. If they ask you to outline the product development process for a new product or service for a business, and you mix up the order of the stages and all that sort of stuff, you're going to absolutely screw up the question. Or sometimes as well, you'll notice I'd notice if I give this question to my class in an exam, like students are pausing a huge amount and they're not sure and they're coming back and they're wasting maybe 3 or 4 minutes. You just have to be really fast when you're going down through these stages. So anyway, we'll go to the first one, right? Idea generation. So what we have here is ideas are thought up systematically, and again, just circle back to internal and external sources for the business. So internal sources can be anything that they'd have there, like a brainstorming session or research and development, and then the external sources could be import substitution or copying a successful idea from their competitors. Brilliant. Right, so that's it. Idea generation, that's that checked off, right? Ideas are thought up systematically, and then fire down any internal, external, and you'll be grand for that, okay? So you fire down like brainstorming, copying ideas to your competitors, and you'll be fine there. So next stage then is product screening. So imagine here, right, we've come up now with, let's say, 50 ideas. Well, then our job, right, is to screen down and pick the idea with the most potential. So that's what screening is. And the big thing you need to stress here is you say that any unworkable ideas are dropped. You throw out any ideas that just won't be profitable or won't make any sense for the business. And that's what you're doing in the screening process, right? Any unworkable ideas are dropped. The big advantage of this is it saves the business a lot of time and money because they're not developing any unwanted products. So going down through it again, product screening. Here the business picks the idea with the most potential, unworkable ideas are dropped, and the brilliant thing about this is it saves the business a lot of money because they're not developing any unwanted products. Another great one to use as well is fire down the word vetted. Here all the ideas are vetted. So you're going through all the ideas and you're picking out the one that has the greatest potential. Brilliant. Next one is concept development. So let's imagine now we've gone through, we had our idea generation phase, we came up with 50, then we did the product screening, we picked the idea with the most potential. So now we're going into concept development. So what we want to do when we're looking at this is you're really trying to, here you write out a detailed essay where you're basically outlining, you're turning the idea into a product, okay? So make sure you mark that in concept development, you write out an essay where you turn the idea into a product, and it tackles things like what will the product's function be, what will it look like, but most important by a mile is that you say you develop a unique selling point for the product, a USP, okay? So make sure you mark that down there. That's they're going to be looking out for when they're grading your answer, right? Remember again what a unique selling point is. It's a unique feature that your product's gonna have that's gonna set it apart from the competition, right? After that, then we have a feasibility study. So here we developed out the product. Let's imagine if it's Apple with their iPhone at the start, they're like, right, our unique selling point is that this phone can also play music. The next thing that they go through is they'll do a feasibility study. And here they're really looking at 2 things. They're looking at the production feasibility. Do they have the resources to properly develop the product? Is it going to comply with government regulations? And then on top of that, they're looking at the financial feasibility. Like they'll do things like they'll do a break-even analysis. They'll be like, right, how many of these will we actually have to sell in order to make a profit? So that's when you're looking at a feasibility study, you're really looking into 2 things. You're really looking into, look at the word feasible. You're looking and saying, is it actually possible? If someone says, is this feasible? It's another way of saying, is this possible? So you're saying like, right, is it feasible to develop it? Production and financial. So let's again just take a quick look at production. When you're doing your production, when you're looking at the feasibility in terms of production, you're seeing there like, right, is it possible to make it? Will it comply with government laws? will it meet the safety standards? Then when you're looking at the financial feasibility, you're like, right, is there enough demand? Can it be profitable? And you're making sure it meets a break-even analysis. You're basically seeing like, right, how many of these do we have to sell in order to break even? That's the sort of stuff that they want you to fire down when you're talking about a feasibility study. Right, so then when you move on to that stage, and you're like, you know what, it is feasible, we can bring this product out, there will be enough demand, we are going to make a profit, we know we can make it. The next stage then is, these are like hurdles. They jump onto the next hurdle then. They say like, right, we're actually now going to develop a prototype. Now, a prototype is literally just a working model of the product. So they just develop a sample mock-up of this product. And again, the big thing there that they'll look for in the Leaving Cert is they can ask you like, right, what's the advantages of developing a prototype, of developing a sample of the product? So again, you with me in this, instead of the mass producing, let's say 50,000 iPhones, they make one iPhone. This is what Apple will do. So once they've got their prototype, they've got a couple of things now. First off, now they know, can they develop the raw material? Can they source the raw materials to develop the product? They also have a good idea of the financial cost of producing the product. So make sure to mark them in. They have an idea of the financial cost. They know that can they source the raw materials. And also what they can do now as well is they can eliminate any defects to the product. Like let's say straight away if they developed it and the battery wasn't working, well then they can fix that and they can keep doing that. And when they're happy with their prototype, when they're like, you know what, this is pretty good, let's now test it on the market. So what they do now is they now have a prototype developed for the test marketing phase. Now I just need to stop this here, right? Because I think you might see this I think you're going to see this pop up soon in the Leaving Cert prototype development. It came up in 2016 and it was really badly answered. They basically said like, outline the reasons why a business would engage in prototype development, and the answers in that question were shockingly bad. Okay, so just make sure you've got that done. All right, about developing a sample, or you might see them even written there, it involves developing like a mock-up of the product. All right, so now even there, if you're looking at test marketing, I always think of the TM and test marketing, it links back to like your target market, all right? So it's like me, let's say if I was bringing out a book for the Leaving Cert, I wouldn't ask my friends what they think of it, or I wouldn't show it to like my auntie or uncle. You bring it to the test market, you bring it to your target market, Leaving Cert students, and you ask them for their feedback on it, okay? And that's what you're doing with test marketing. You're bringing it to your target market. So think of the TM and test marketing, that circles back with the TM in target market. That's the idea. And the whole point here is you're trying to identify any faults, assess their reaction, and make any adjustments to it that you have to before you go into full-scale production. And the last stage there you see, guys, is product launch, okay? So once you're happy with that, and once you've gotten all the feedback, you launch the product out in the market. You make sure it's very well marketed, it's lots of advertising around it, and also you just make sure that it's well distributed, that's easy for people to buy. Perfect. You fire that down, you'll have no problem with the product development process. Remember though, it's like you're walking into a memory exam with this. Like the best students here will be able to like open up a blank A4 piece of paper, write out the stages. I gave Peter some CDs for Sarah. Please don't tell my pal Liam. And then they'll literally just be able to write out the headings off it and the keywords beside it. That's what you need to do. Remember with this, it's pointless to be able to just sit there and read the notes and say, oh yeah, great, I understand this now. You have to develop it out like that, okay? So that sentence there, guys, is absolutely crucial for us to remember the structuring of this, okay? So please make sure you drill that in, okay? That's what we're looking for there. All right, so I gave Peter some CDs for Sarah. Please don't tell my pal Liam. There's all the key points there. Right, so we'll have a quick look over a few questions here. Again, here's a quick one. If you want to mark in here on page 8, right, we see it here for 20 marks. So remind yourself, when a question pops up for 20 marks, it means you've got 8 minutes to answer it, okay? So what we see here is, again, 20 marks, again, outline the internal and external sources of new product ideas for a business, okay, Grant. So we know it's for a business, that's okay. And then they're saying they're internal and external sources, so it's plural. So I'd be assuming there, I'd be saying to myself, right, internal sources, it's plural, it's more than one, and external sources, it's plural, it's more than one. So now I know they want 2 internal and 2 external, right? That's just important for me to remember. So if we look at here, right, first thing there they have is a brainstorming session, that's fine. And again, what we see here, when you're talking about brainstorming session, employees from different departments in business come together and creatively think up of new ideas. And that's it. That's our 2 marks there, our 3 marks there. You can see there 2 there, 3 there. And this just from one of my students in Leaving Cert have thrown in a few sample answers, but that's just, you see the way there, they get their 5 out of 5. So then we see the next one here is an internal source, right? So if we go back here, internal suggestions. So employee suggestions, again, take away time from their normal work to come up with any ideas they have that can help the business. Again, you see it there, very straightforward, 5 marks there. Another internal one, guys, is research and development. So research and development, 2 marks. And again, in business full of employees whose job is to come up with new products, they must be creative and innovative, okay? And that's it. So creative and innovative, that's fine. And they got there 2 and 2, that's 5. And the last one there we see is import substitution. Import substitution, and again, they produce a product that they usually import, and that's it. Okay, so that's fine. You see the student there got 20 out of 20. So I just want to stress there, guys, that like the reason I wanted to read through that question is the question didn't ask for examples, and see the student just didn't put it in. If the question said illustrate, that means that they want you to explain the point and back it up with an example. But here the question didn't say illustrate, so the student didn't waste any time, and they just literally went through the question there. And that's why that student got a H1, the Leaving Cert. They're just very efficient at tipping away at those types of questions. So the question, remember again, just be careful. Remember the whole thing, students are always throwing in examples. You don't need to look at it like that, guys, because you won't have enough time to finish the exam if you're constantly backing it up every single point you make with an example. So again, another straightforward enough one there. See the way they grade this. It described the first 4 stages of the product development process. So we have like, I gave Peter some CDs for Sarah. So idea generation, product screening, concept development, feasibility study. So again, straight away, idea generation, product screening, see the way they're all in order. So ideas are thought of systematically. Internal, like a brainstorming session, 5 marks there. Product screening, all ideas are vetted, unworkable ideas are dropped. Another 5 marks. Concept development, so straight away there. This is where ideas are turned into an actionable product, and also the unique selling point, but she'd already gotten her 5 there. So, you know, she didn't need that. And then you've got feasibility study. Again, they look at, is it physically possible to produce the product? And you see there, the student just got their 20 out of 20. But that's just how, I just want to skim over a couple of questions, give you guys an idea of how they're grading it. But see the way there, you don't need these mad long essays in Leaving Cert Business. Just be direct, hit your points, and you'll have no problem there. All right, if you guys can, I'd recommend just pausing it there for a second and seeing if you can match up the numbers with the letters, all right? So just pause it there. This is on page 11. Give that a shot. All right, I'll run through what you hear. So we have here the first one here, idea generation. You know, brainstorming is used during the idea generation process. Then number 2, concept development. So again, that's where you will have a unique selling point. 3, product launch. Products made available to the market. 4, prototype development. Prototype development, again, developing a sample or a mock-up of the product. And the last one there, feasibility study, that is C, is carried out to assess if the product has potential. Okay, so again, we had there B, F, D, A, and C. And what I would do here, the most important letter here, guys, is E. And if I'm looking at E, that is product screening. And then I'm saying, yeah, that doesn't link up with any of the columns there on the left-hand side. So now I know I got it right. So always look at whatever letter you didn't get. That's the most important one. Make sure it doesn't match up with any of the numbers, and you'll be fine there for that. But look, that's the stuff there at that question there. I'd recommend, if you have any time on your own there, if you're doing any bit of revision, guys, I'd really recommend looking over the question there on the bottom page 14 and 15. You've got a couple of sample answers thrown in there at the back, but look, there's nothing there that would cause any issue for you guys. Okay, so that's brilliant. Thanks.